Hey, thank you for tuning in for another episode of Talking Mortal. I'm here with Dannythenyan. Hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
Hey. So you are a Twitch streamer and YouTube content creator for Mortal Online 2, is that correct?
Yeah. Been making content since beta pretty much, or almost 2 years now.
Yeah, right. And then you were the leader of the Black Lotus Alliance, was that correct?
Yeah. Right now, we're just returning to the game, so we're kind of putting stuff back together compared to what we used to be back in the day. So got a couple guilds, nothing too impressive.
Very cool, very cool. And tell me a little bit more about your history in the game.
So essentially, I picked the game up in beta. I actually stumbled upon it, um, coming off of a fresh start server from ArcAge, like number 27 out of the 50 billion they've done. And I don't know, I just fell in love with the game. I felt the combat and had that dopamine hit of going out in the world and dying and losing my stuff. And then just got addicted and then started playing just kind of religiously every day. And essentially, we created a little guild. Well, we were HRG. We were playing out of Hispelia. We used the HRG tag from ArcAge, but we rebranded from Harania's Royal Guard to Hispelia Royal Guard. And then eventually we ended up, a lot of shenanigans happened. We ended up getting MK Castle. So we rebranded into MKRG, which is Morinker Royal Guard, where everybody kind of knows of us that's been playing for a while. Um, Unfortunately, again, shenanigans happened. We lost the keep, and we decided to move to GK and rebranded as Amaterasu. And we kind of just been doing some work. Took a little bit of a break recently, but we're coming back to kind of get back into it. Get into some of the bigger fights and whatever we can muster up.
Awesome, awesome. You said you lost the keep. How did that happen?
Um, so you asked a million, different people, and they'll all give you a different answer. Um, Realistically, we were up against. We had a pretty nice size of alliance, but we were fighting wars against all three alliances on all fronts. We were, had integrity, and they were fighting Kodo. Um, companions were up north fighting Odin Seed, and we were taking the brunt of Cardimata. When you're kind of fighting the three biggest armies at once as an alliance is kind of a lot on your group.
Mm,
There was also a lot of behind the scenes stuff that a lot of people don't know about. I don't really want to go into full detail, but there was some doxing and some foul play going on, and kind of some people took it too far. And it kind of just got to the point where it's, I log in and play. I play a lot. Any given day, if you click on my profile, you'll see that I'm playing Mortal for 15 to 20 hours a day. I'm addicted to the game. Um, but kind of gets to the point where you log in and someone's kind of DMing threats to your family members, and you're dealing with 100 people at your doorstep when you have 20 people online. It's like, I don't know, is this really fun? Is it worth kind of going through this gameplay loop of my players don't enjoy what we're doing? So we kind of just abandoned it. The alliance kind of was real spread thin. It was kind of falling apart towards the end of it. So we really just didn't have the manpower to really dedicate ourselves to trying to hold on to a keep. And realistically, a 20-man guild shouldn't hold on to a keep in a game like this.
no, agreed. I think we have a lot of examples of that, but we won't get into that. Um, that's cool. So now you're just rebuilding and kind of getting yourself back into the rhythm of the game.
Yeah. Like I said, I play religiously. I needed a little bit of a break because we had some drama after we rebranded and moved to GK. And we had a lot of players that were there because we owned a castle for a while. And we kind of just went to play other things so I could recharge, kind of see who really was like the ride or die people, and kind of cut off a lot of the people that are there because they log in, get handed a free set of steel, and then die because they don't want to listen to calls or something.
Yeah, fair. All right, cool. Well, thank you for the intro. That's good. Bring some insight to you, so thank you for that. Obviously, we got the new patch and the new cape drop. The new cape is actually impressive. As you see posted up right here, this is actually a decent looking cape for the Twitch drop comparison to the other prior drops. What are your thoughts on that?
I like the cape. Don't get me wrong. I think it's cool that they're giving streamers something to kind of incentivize players to view the content, kind of promote the content, and allow these smaller streamers and kind of just everybody in general kind of something to offer for people sitting in a stream. Because I've been in some streams and I'll tell you they aren't the best to watch. So having some sort of incentive, it helps out a little bit. But as you may have seen in the creator Discord, I'm more of give us something like some game time to kind of show some players, you know, some of the content or allow players who maybe are on the fence of resubbing to kind of test out the new patches instead of just like, hey, here's another cape. Even though this cape is better than all of the other capes that we have gotten,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of to me would be better value for me to watch someone and be able to play for 5-6 days and then determine, hey, is this patch something that's worth me paying the $15 to subscribe again?
Oh yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Okay. But do you think that with the drops, do you think that it's added promotional value for newer players that kind of take a look at these streams and see what's going on?
Well, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of content in the game that the average player who kind of sits in Tindrum, Baduli, Fabernum don't know about the game, right?
Right.
We used to do a lot of Riser Dungeon. A lot of people don't even know what Riser Dungeon is in GK Talus, right? So kind of being able to see that, see the drops that you get out of that, the PvP, the kind of toughness and the other side of the map. Yesterday I was streaming Trolls, right? We were
Right.
just, small group running Trolls. A lot of people don't know how easy it is to go take 2 other guys with you to go farm a troll, make that 100 gold, get that iron fur. So kind of shows a little bit more of the gameplay that the average player doesn't get to experience farming scoundrels or zombies in Tindrum or Fabernum.
No, fair. Fair. I appreciate that. No, that's definitely a decent perspective on it. Have you actually got to play out the new dungeon yet?
Right now, like I said, we're kind of in a rebuilding phase, so we've already placed like 5 strongholds this week, and our gameplay loop has been nothing but hitting rocks, placing buildings.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting to that point here in the next few days to where we'll be done with our infrastructure and be able to dive into that dungeon. But I've been watching like Rivers and the streamers kind of dive into it, and I'm pretty excited from what I see so far. To me personally, I know that there was some gripes in the Mortal Discord about supposedly reskin mobs, even though they're kind of lore based and have the reasons of why the mobs are the way they are.
Right.
But to me, it's a very unique dungeon. It's probably the best dungeon we've gotten so far from what I've saw, because there's a lot of puzzles and hidden doors and mechanics to getting to the boss before you could actually do the encounter, as opposed to like Minnow, you just power through, kill the boss, get out.
Yeah, so I myself don't really know too much. I did see there was a lore book. It was like a diary entry of some sort. It reads, I have found the most unusual gemstone. It is unlike any I've ever yet studied, of a pale red and much heavier than it looks. Its surface is smoother than the one would expect. However, most intriguing of all, it is well singing. And obviously there's a bit more to that. So it makes me think that there's maybe a new gemstone that they introduced into the game. What properties does it possess? Obviously, that's more like speculation at this point, unless there's another guild that does have possession of it.
So from... I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you
Yeah,
off.
go ahead, go ahead.
What I've seen is you use that gemstone to open some of the doors, right?
Okay.
But there could be another use for it, right? Just in the same way of like Ultimeki, right? Ultimeki can be used to turn in for the Ognium book, but a lot of people didn't know for a while that you could use that Thunder Egg and use it as a gem for necromancy to make one of the best necromancy pets.
Right, right. No, that's a very fair point. And then, I mean, speaking of door opening, I did find something rather interesting. Have you heard of the Thurgicam seal key?
I believe it was Amalgam that made a video of him assembling those. So I've seen a little bit of it, but we're kind of trying to get in there ourselves here in the next few days once we're done with our current project to kind of experience that, test that out, see it for ourselves.
Right, right. No, fair enough. Because, like, yeah, I saw that, and I noticed that there's 2 different doors in the dungeon. One, I know the name was Essence of Growth doors. And I was wondering if, like, that's... Because it looks like it's interactable. I wonder if that has anything to tie in with all that.
So what I've seen so far is there's two pieces, and you assemble them
Hmm.
in the same way you assemble a relic together, and then that kind of forms the key. You also use those to trade in for that new armor book, from what I've seen.
Yeah. No, I saw that too. The new armor actually looks kind of funny. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I like the pilgrim hat. I'm not gonna hate on the armor. I know a lot of people wanted a medium armor. Me personally, I would prefer a medium and another heavy armor that
Right.
was in the first game as opposed to what we got. But more armor diversity is never a bad thing, regardless of what we get.
Yeah, and I know we're expecting a medium armor on Sprint 4. And kudos to Starvolt for actually bringing out content as promised. They've definitely got my vote of confidence with the recent updates. What are your thoughts on the recent updates?
Yeah. Well, I've been playing since beta. I remember when you went over node lines and your horse would disappear.
Hmm.
I remember going through a year period where we got minimal patches and hot fixes and updates, and I've experienced a lot of the bugs and other things. So the rapid progression that they're making now
Hmm.
compared to where they were is definitely giving me a lot more hope. I took a 2 month break because a couple patches ago, I wasn't happy with the state of the game. This was kind of right after Undercroft, where people were using the Flakestone weapon exploit. There was a couple cheaters we ran across. I said, you know what? I just need to. I've been playing this for 2.5 years. I need to take a breath, wait for them to release some new stuff for me to get back in the game. And from what I've seen, I'm really really satisfied with the rapid progression and all of the changes that they're making. There's a few things I have issues with, but at the same time, if we're doing 3 steps forward and 1 step back, it's better than the 1 step forward, 1 step back that we were getting before.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like I've probably gone over this like beat with a dead like a dead horse, but we got a lot of good quality of life patches recently. I think this specific patch wasn't really too much focused on quality of life. I think a lot of the focus was on towards the siege system and the second character slot, which I know everyone's been super waiting for. They've been begging for a second character slot, and I do like that there's way less limitations than what was originally proposed to the community. I don't know if you remember, they were saying they were going to link professions and reputation points.
Yeah. So definitely, second character slot is a big win for Starvolt. I didn't really like the diva system that they proposed, but I also don't like how they said they were not doing a second character slot without that, and then went back on it. But again, 3 steps forward, 1 step back.
Right.
I'm fine with it. Right? We have it. I don't have to sub 5 accounts to be able to do what I need to do now. I can kind of clip off a couple of my extra accounts and kind of limit myself down to maybe playing 2 or 3 of those accounts.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I think that's definitely just that is general quality of life for this players. Just more enjoyability knowing that you don't have to pay for, like you said, 5 different subs, right? You're paying for probably 3 or 2 subs at that point, depending on what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, and I have 3, 4 players in my guild that do the same thing, right? They had 4 or 5 accounts, and now they're, hey, I don't have to pay for all of them. I can kind of do what I need to do with the 2 accounts.
Yep, yep, 100%, 100%. Oh, the big question. I want to get your thought on this because obviously you've been around for some time. What are your thoughts on the new siege challenge system?
Um, Man, so I got some hot takes on it,
Okay.
but I've told my opinion to Henry, and I told him that he should probably pull TC down for a couple months and just rework the system, because we're again a couple steps forward, 1 step back. But we're kind of trying to fix something, right? Resurrect a dead horse. Um, I get that the system is way better now,
Hmm.
but I would completely like to see it redesigned to where it would actually work in a way that kind of, I don't know, just rethink it, right? Because even now there's some flaws that I see where it can be abused if you make some sub guilds and then you pick guild stones on those sub guilds to avoid being sieged. You could grief players by having multiple guilds. Siege request a guild to kind of overwhelm them. There's a lot of flaws in the system. But again, it's a step in the right direction. I just kind of wish they would evaluate the whole situation and redesign a fresh system as opposed to here's a patch. We'll see how it plays out. If it doesn't work, we'll throw another patch out, and then kind of keep doing that same thing.
Well, the question though I really have though is with what we have, right? It's not necessarily that they're going to change it, remove it, or whatnot, and rework it, right? Yeah, I think the objective right now is to try and just improve upon it, making it a better overall system. Do you think the Siege window system is a good addition, or is it a bad addition?
It's a step in the right direction, right? But now it's just going to come down to a numbers game, right? You siege request someone that has 10 players, and someone else is going to bring 200 players to siege that 10 players, right?
Right.
It is good in the fact that sieges are actually going to happen. You're not going to get guilds that go and run around the map collecting 20 towers to make yourself unsiegeable. You're not going to have guilds who own multiple castles, have unlimited, defensive bonuses. You're locked into the siege. Something's blowing up. Someone's, losing stuff, or you're going to fail that siege. But you're forced to commit to the siege as opposed to just running around the map trying to build supply towers and trying to build, the depots up.
No, definitely. I think it's huge that supply line or supply towers are no longer given defense bonus, but supply. I think that was a horrible game loop that I think a lot of people are just happy that they don't have to worry about doing anymore. I think it's cool that now that they can actually focus on the actual PvP factor of defense and attack as a whole guild or alliance. Granted, I do agree that the larger groups can still just, claim siege on somebody and then take out that small guild, right? There's still obviously going to be those issues, but I mean, if you're picking a fight as a small guild with a large guild, I think there's some issues. Because I know for a fact that some of these guilds, like the larger Zergs, Coalition, Carney, and Odense, don't necessarily target the small guilds unless they are wronged. Um, but then there are situations like with Coalition, from my personal understanding, that do target people that don't join their cause. Um, I don't know necessarily if that's completely true or not, just from what I've seen. And but like I said, you can only look at it from outside and look in and say, okay, so you're just going to target small guilds. Who's going to stop them, right? So then, in that being said, do you think that there's a chance that there could be a resistance against Coda?
Okay, so I hope and I pray, and excuse my language, but I hope and I pray that people grow a pair of balls to not be afraid to fight them. Because, realistically, that is very healthy for the game to allow groups to get that PvP now that it's a lot easier. From what I've seen, there's not enough people who have the guts to do it, but I would love to see it happen. I would be there with my guys. I don't have the biggest crew, but I got a couple allies. I got a good handful of solid guys. We would be there if it happens. We want it to happen. It doesn't even have to be Kodo. Mainly the bigger groups that have been kind of grouping up lately to kind of put them in their place. If you were around for the first ACT, that brought back a lot of players, and it was very good content for a lot of players to be able to experience those larger scale fights.
Yeah, for sure. And then I know you were part of the most recent server war, but you dropped out of that one, right?
Yeah, so never been a big fan of Kodo. So we kind of jumped in there to go fight against them, and then we were doing kind of mercenary stuff, but then we just kind of wanted to get involved, just get some of those larger scale PvP. Some stuff happened behind the scenes with a guild that was involved with the side we were on. They said some pretty ignorant stuff, so we were like, whatever, we're gonna go fight with the other guys there and just kind of get that PvP. Really don't care about the politics, just wanted the PvP. And then they're just as toxic, so we're like, yeah, whatever, we're not going to really kind of get involved in this. You guys can duke it out yourselves.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. One thing about the siege system I did want to touch on. I completely forgot to mention it. How do you feel about people ghosting on siege challenges? For example, I know today Blackhand did a siege challenge on Mythic and didn't even show up.
Yeah, I mean it's part of the game. Again, it's one of those things where I wish they would take the time to design a system to where, hey, maybe if you don't show up, there is an opportunity for a counter siege where you lose a larger something defensive bonus where you can kind of counterplay off that to kind of avoid the, hey, we're gonna have people siege request you nonstop and then make you stay there and then not give you the content and then just kind of waste your time. Because I mean that's not fun. That's just as dumb as hitting towers all day, right? It doesn't benefit anybody's gameplay. It makes players say, hey, why am I sitting inside the stronghold for 6 hours today, and then 2 days from now I got to do the same thing instead of playing and enjoying the game.
So instead of increasing the cost for a siege challenge, do you think you're proposing maybe a penalty or some sort of just preventative against ghosting a siege? Is that what you're kind of proposing?
I say that the defenders, after a certain amount of time, should have the opportunity to go on a counter offensive to where kind of, the a person who declares it has a vulnerability. So from what I believe right now, the only person who is vulnerable to be siege is the person who the siege is declared on, right? So say you siege me, you can come destroy my stuff, but I cannot come destroy your stuff, right?
Right.
If they allow it to be a two-way street, then that would be more worth it because then, hey, if I'm just gonna drop a siege I can't talk, a siege deck on you, I have to watch out because now my stronghold across the map is fair game.
Yeah, yeah, no, fair. That's fair. I definitely think that that's something that we can hope gets improved on. Because obviously, this is just a new system that was recently implemented. Obviously, we can talk all day about what can be better as the players, as we experience it as we go. I haven't experienced anything personally yet in this. I hope I don't anytime soon. But no, it's I think it's a good good direction we're going in right now, and hopefully the improvements come as we progress in this game. We still
Hopefully, it comes sooner than later. And you could imagine you're in companions, right? So imagine having to react every other day to a siege request, and you guys now have to go to your stronghold. Like, just it wouldn't be fun.
right. You're just standing there all day and just waiting, prepped. You called everybody online. Hey, get on, guys, at this specific time. We're gonna sit here for 6 hours. Oh, no one showed up. Okay, guys, thanks for showing up. Have a good rest of your day. It sucks. They could have been doing something else in game or actually doing something IRL. That could have been, like working. Oh, I called out of work to sit out in my stronghold for 6 hours. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, there's going to be those types of situations, and I hope that, there's a correction or some sort of patch that definitely penalizes players from just making those declarations of war and not even showing up. We'll see. It's just one of those things, I guess. But yeah, I do see that we added, increased the weight of newly crafted tower shields. So that kind of is interesting. So existing tower shields will stay as pre-existed, like the legacy shields that had crazy durability. I thought this was an interesting one. Riser cape equipped by a female character is now fixed for textures.
Yeah, I've never seen that in game, so
I've never seen that before ever. I have no idea what it looked like. I kind of
But there's also sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. But there's also 5 people on that cape in the game or something.
Is it really only that many?
It's an ultra rare. I mean, there's people like Lourdes and Razor who sat in that dungeon for a year straight. Like they've seen it once.
Interesting. Yeah, we have a guy who goes in there every day, and I don't think the only thing he comes out with are just weapon books. I don't think he's ever got a cape. I really want to see. I'm gonna probably look on YouTube after this podcast and see if I can find that. I thought that was kind of an interesting one. And then Cougars and Panthers. I thought that was kind of big. Cougars are actually surprisingly the best of the mounted pets from testing.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome that they're adding more pets. I definitely like seeing it. I see that we're getting ligators next, which is going to be big and another mountable pet. So adding that diversity kind of creates more content, creates more of a reason to go farm certain types of mobs. I
Right.
mean, if you lived in Meduli in game and you were farming cougars before, it was kind of farming basic mats for a couple gold, right? But now you have a reason, more of an incentive to go get cougars and go get panthers and kind of fight over those because they are the best in slot battle pet slash mount now.
Yep. Yep. No, 100%. Um, yeah, I'm looking for the Lycator. I'm actually low key. I don't know. Someone told me they can crawl up walls or mountains or steep, like normally non-accessible areas. Is that actually a true fact? Do
So in the first game, they would hop. And they would be able to hop over a house.
Okay.
I don't know if they're going to add that. I don't know if you've noticed the bears, but the bears can actually climb up slopes that are a lot steeper than the horses can.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what degree they're going to allow ligators to climb up those slopes, but yes, certain pets actually have the ability to climb better than other pets if you were unaware of that.
I was not. That's actually huge. So yeah, obviously we're going to be seeing Lycators in the jungle. Um, it's definitely going to be a fight of who can control those spawns, just like Overt kind of controls the Arctic Mulva spawns, right? I'm kind of curious to see how that turns out. We'll see. We'll probably see a lot more bustle in the jungle, and I'm definitely assuming our next dungeon will probably be in the jungle, as Henrik kind of bamboozled everybody, making them think that this current patch was supposed to be dungeon in the jungle. I don't know if you ever were aware of that.
Yeah, I caught some of that, and I think it'd make more sense if it's in the jungle if we're getting ligators. You know, I'm
Right.
assuming that maybe the ligators would be in the general area of where the dungeon's at. Um, but who knows? You know, they could also be, just pulling a fast one on us, and they could be in Aspelia or something.
Yeah, yeah, who knows? I mean, that would be kind of out of place and weird if they were in Hispelia, honestly. Like gators in the snow.
Oh no, not ligator, the new dungeon.
Oh, right, yeah, because there is literally nothing up there. But then again, I remember Henrik was kept on saying, I want to add POIs and new things to the less traversed areas of the map, right? And that, in my opinion, I think the north west and the south east, right? Because I mean, the Milky area really has nothing except for like the bandit leader spawn north of Unbroken Keep, right? That drops the cape, and
There's a
then
couple riser camps, trolls, spider cave over there, but yeah, I mean, they could add more.
yeah, I definitely think that there should be some more additions in that area. Because at this moment, I think I'm not trying to say it's bad, but it's generally too peaceful in that area. There's not really much going on, and I think we need to, you know, turn it up a bit in that area. Give the players that live there a bit more content, and then bring more of the map, the traverse through that area would, I think, be very interesting to see. I think I'd be very interested to see what happens with that.
Yeah, but I mean, they can add more POIs, but like, if it's a POI with a Belbus and two scoundrels, what's the point of that POI, right? Now that
Right.
they have a higher mob diversity, it'd be cool to see some of those new mobs in those POIs or some unique mobs that you only get from those POIs, right?
Right. Right. Hey, actually, I want to throw something at you. You tell me if this is something that it actually would be something you'd be interested in seeing in the game. Have you seen the recent development from Ashes of Creation?
I've been keeping up with it. I'm pretty excited for Ashes. That's pretty much Arcade 2, and Arcade was kind of a real big game for me. So yeah,
Did you see the caravan?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So that is the trade pack system before Arcade destroyed their trade pack system, made it a little bit better, and I 100% think that they should add some sort of trade pack slash trading system into the game, which would incentivize players to move a parcel from one side of the map back to the other and actually make some sort of profit. It doesn't have to be crazy, but make something as opposed to what we have now. We have the supplies, and it's like anytime I've ever asked to go, hey, you guys want to run supplies? No one wants to run supplies, right?
Right.
But if they're getting 10 gold to do it, yeah. I actually remember the good old days of Arcade sitting outside of Austere Port on my little clipper and pulling merchant ships out in the ocean and taking those trade packs and making 1,000 gold easy just by robbing people for those packs, right? So if
Right.
they add something like that, it would be a great addition to the game.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be super badass. I mean, you start a caravan out in, I don't know, let's just say Fab, right? And then you take that caravan, you guard it all the way to MK or something, right? Defending it from anybody who wants to get that. And I just think that would be such a cool game loop because as long as there's incentive for the defenders, right? I think that could be a real big mechanic add to the game. And I don't think it'd be that difficult. You're basically just having a locomotive moving from point A to point B and stopping when there's, maybe like a invisible circle that surrounds the caravan. If there's no one in it, that's not Krim. It has to stop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it has to sit there protected for X amount of time, and then it turns it in, which would also be unique with the dynamic spawns around the world because you would have to stop and kill those mobs or else you'll potentially lose your caravan. So I could see all sorts of interesting things, interesting gameplay loops that adds to the game just by adding that one system in.
And then what do you think about world events? Random triggered world events of risers attacking little towns.
So they had it in the first game. It was part of the invasion system. They also had the meteors in the first game, which
Right.
were the relics people fought over.
Yep.
Again, that gave people a reason to kind of go out in the world, right? It also allowed people to farm risers because those in the first game, those camps, if you didn't clear them, they would actually spawn named riser bosses,
Mm-hmm.
and that's actually how in Mage Valley, if you see all the faces,
Yep.
you would actually kill those for special relics to activate that, and essentially wipe out the riser invasion. So it kind of adds another layer of gameplay, allows people to farm money without having to go to the dungeon to be able to farm risers. So kind of allows people to put more money in their pocket. Something with like tagmatons, right? It's written in the lore
Yep.
of the tagmaton invasion. Um, Imagine going outside of Tindra and there's 20 tagmatons out there. That would be extra mats for people, and then also more of a challenge for players to have to kind of band together because tagmatons aren't easy to kill.
Yeah, 100%. I think that could be something. Hopefully it comes back to the game, like you said. It's been in the game before. It's a matter of just basically adding that system and the mechanics to it and making it work to the point where it wouldn't be abused, right?
Well, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah,
There
go ahead.
was two sides of that on the Riser invasion, right? Because so groups will team together to stop the invasion, or you could be on the other side of that, and you could be pushing the invasion out to kind of make it harder for players to travel around the world and play. In the first game, you could place a Meng down, and if the Riser camp gets too close to it, the Risers actually would use that Meng and start attacking buildings. So, like,
Wow.
it's an extra. It kind of creates alliances and reasons for people to group up to kind of do different activities, right? It just adds more to the game, and I would love to have more in the game right now.
Oh yeah, 100%. And do you think? Okay, so then now that we're talking about the Riser invasion, and it sounds like it's definitely going to be more achievable, right, to implement into the game sooner than later. Do you think we're going to see the Riser continent next or Saraduka?
So I want to see Herbalath, I believe is how you pronounce it. I would love to see that because that would just be so much more cool content using the Thursar Clade and everything like that. Being able to go to that part of the map
Mm-hmm.
and then interact with the Riser cities would be awesome to me, especially since I'm a Thursar. But realistically, they've already have Sarduka. I don't doubt that they've been working on Sarduka for a while. They're just not letting us know that, hey, Sarduka is probably like 25% done already.
Right.
So we're more than likely going to get Sarduka first.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I definitely think that the content that's been getting popped out recently in these sprints as being stuff that they've actually been working on for quite some time?
Yes, I've actually been telling a lot of people that. I believe during that year kind of dry phase, they have a small development team, but you can put one or two guys on a different project, right? And then
Right.
I feel like they've completed a lot of content because of how fast we were getting dungeons before, right? They completed it and they've been sitting on it and kind of waiting. I feel like they're going to start marketing after the sprint, and then they probably have 3 or 4 more dungeons done, right? They probably have half of Sarduka already done. That allows them to not have to be in such a crunch, right?
Right.
Because if you remember, I don't know if you're playing when they were teasing TC, everybody was harassing them and rushing them through it. And I feel like that was kind of the problem is everybody wanted TC now,
Hmm.
and they didn't take the time that they needed to actually implement TC
Well,
properly.
yeah, it's almost the exact same thing with the siege system if we go back to that. Because, I mean, that was just the demand of the player base, especially after the server war. Because there's a lot of players that I know quit over TC, right? And one of their main concerns was the siege system. So I think it's kind of like the same situation. They rushed the siege system. They worked out some of the kinks to what their ideal siege system was. And keep in mind, it's more of a copy siege system of Nightfall. Or Darkfall, sorry. Darkfall. Nightfall. Man, I was literally just dueling Slasher before I got this podcast. So sorry, I had Nightfall in my head.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, Darkfall siege system. So, I think when we're talking about the steps forward, steps back, I think we kind of fall in that same boat. We just need to perfect what the siege system, the TC system, from where Darkfall failed, right, and kind of just improve upon it. And I'm hoping and I'm thinking that's the kind of idea that Henrik has at this moment. Obviously, siege system, we probably won't see any major changes on that unless it's like a huge community outroar, which I don't see being a complete big issue at the moment because they do have, 2 more remaining sprints at least listed at this moment.
Yeah.
And like so we're getting the weapon skill system, we're getting a veteran system, a Lyciators, another dungeon, medium armor. I wouldn't be surprised
The next update to UE5 next update. I think it's 5.3 or something like that.
Right.
That should help the game run a little bit better for everybody.
Right, and then I know that they're talking about doing the Haven the complete revamp on Haven. Make it
the
more
new player experience.
Yeah, noob friendly, more guides, preset clades. There was a shit ton of stuff. I was kind of impressed, honestly. And some of these things I know for a fact that they had to develop on a whim. You know what I'm saying? They just had to pump it out real quick in order to keep up with their deadlines. So I'm actually quite impressed that they were able to pump out as much content as they've been doing.
So
go ahead.
I will say I love Mortal, right? I have 10,000 hours between all my characters. I play the game religiously, right? Besides just taking a short break, I played almost every day for the last almost 3 years.
Right.
But Starvolt has a tendency of pushing out half-baked content. This isn't trying to dig on them, just we all kind of know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I had rituals for a year and a half waiting for necromancy tables. We were told that they were going to get implemented with nav meshing. They have them, X, Y, and Z. We got nav meshing, never got those tables. We don't have entities. We don't have quite a few different things, right? So my biggest fear is that they continue to release these big things and then leave 1 or 2 key features out, and then that kind of makes players upset, right? I hope that instead of taking that step backward again, they take 3 steps forward, 1 step back. I hope it's 4 steps forward and then maybe a minor problem, but it's not something that's we have to wait a year to get something right. We don't have to wait 2 years to get a Spiritism rework, and in the meantime, they nerf Spiritism, buff it, nerf it, buff it every other patch.
Yeah, no, fair. Do you think that we're going to be seeing anything like that in the, close foreseeing future?
When you say see anything like that, you mean good progress forward, like that?
Yeah, we're going to see, and you think there's going to be some improvements upon those things?
I mean, when you're getting paid monthly to develop a game, right? It's a little bit different than, hey, we released this game for free, a couple years ago, and you've been playing it for 2 years for free,
Mm-hmm.
right? It kind of lights a fire, but there are games, and I know a lot of them have bigger development team, but there are games that if this was developed by another team, we may have already had Sarduka, right? We may have already been ready for the underwater content and boats. So I want Mortal to succeed in every way possible. I hope that they do start making more good progress and keeping players engaged with the game, but they're also humans. I work on cars for a living, so I don't know how hard it is to develop a video game. But I will say the Unreal Engine, I played around with it a little bit. I know that they have a lot more tools and utility. The dungeons that they're making now are a lot easier for them to produce because they have a lot of procedural generation and stuff like that, making it kind of faster for the development.
Right.
Instead of writing C++, I think they're using the blueprints, which speed up development time significantly. So plus, there's a lot of utility for each individual developer to kind of share their work, as opposed to just passing the code and tweaking it type thing. But again, I don't build video games for a living, so I don't really know what all goes into it. I just kind of know surface level.
Well, no, Unreal Engine is definitely easier when it comes to the base development of video games comparison to Unity. They have a lot more visual coding ability in Unreal Engine. So you don't necessarily actually even need to know how to code C++, which is actually kind of comical. Unity, you definitely need to know how to code in C#. There's no and, ifs, and buts about it. Only visual coding is available to an extent, but only so far. So yeah, there is definitely a handicap when it comes to Unreal Engine. It's just, a matter of seeing, like... how do I say it without sounding like a complete dolt? I want to see if Star Vault can go outside the box, create something different, using raw code for certain specific mechanics. Does that make more sense?
Yeah, and again, I'm in the same boat as you. I hope that a year from now, we got Sarduka, we got dragons, we actually have the Ratsar Queen back in the game, and a lot of these other mobs, and they all they do implement that third wave of AI mechanics that they've been talking about, right? I hope they do that, but again, being a realist, it's very hard to do that, right? Again, we all have different jobs. I work on cars. I have people come into my job all the time and tell me they know about cars, but and I shake my head and yeah, whatever. You know what you're talking about because your husband YouTube a video and he's completely off, but you don't really know anything. Same thing with what they're doing, right? I don't know what all they have to do to pump out a quality product. If I was in their shoes, I probably couldn't make a better game. I mean, I have ideas and suggestions, but when it came down to it, they're doing a good job. It would be good to see them do a better job, but they're human at the end of the day, and they have a small team.
Yep, 100%. 100%. And I can't stress that, making a game is like this specifically, because you got to think about it. It's not just stuff being done in Unreal Engine, it's also network code. And network code is super crazy shit, honestly. I learned a general idea on network code when I was developing my own MMO, and that shit is not fun. It's all code. There's no visual coding about it. And you have to make sure you have to create a network solution that it enables a large amount of players to connect, which Starvault obviously is completed and achieved, right? And they still have a technology that a lot of other gaming studios don't have and want. I don't know if you are aware of PAX Day.
Yeah. Actually, me and my guild just got accepted into that playtest, and we plan on testing it next week.
Yep, it starts on Tuesday, that playtest.
Yeah.
The only thing with that one, though, is no, you're good. The only thing with that, though, is limited to the amount of players per server. per server. It's an actual multi-server game, so it's not necessarily MMO. It's nothing like what a true MMO is. A true MMO is supposed to be every single player that plays the game on one server, right? And that's what
Yeah, exactly.
Mortal
That's
has
more of
achieved.
like a Rust type with a larger scale. And you know, it's very unique because this isn't a yes, servers are based in EU, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not just a European and then North American servers. It's a global server and trying to make all that work. I know they don't have a perfect system, and I mean any North American, melee player can tell you that the EU players do have an advantage, but the way they got the game to perform and the way that it does is a lot better than again a lot of teams can do,
Right.
and they're moving in the right direction. They have an amazing product. I don't enjoy really any of the game as much as I enjoy playing Mortal. And I took a break and I was playing MOE and I'm like left clicking twice to kill two people, and it's like this isn't fun. I miss parrying. I miss maneuvering my character and doing the footwork and popping my life stew out just the right time to dive a mage and get back to my group, right? As opposed to just hit 1 2 3 4 left click right click and that's a fight.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, they have a unique system. It's going to go far if it's done correctly. At this point in time, I think Star Vault's going in that right direction. I think as long as they keep fueling the fire, we should see an increase in our community, hopefully soon. Um, it's really going to happen, I think, truly when the Haven overhaul happens. I think when that occurs, we'll see a change in our community numbers. We've already seen a jump in our community numbers, actually, now I mention it. I was looking at our numbers yesterday, and I saw our community numbers at 14,000. Or, sorry, 1,400, sorry, yesterday. That's like a 300 people increase, or 400. Fuck if I know. Yeah, I think that was huge. And that's only Steam, Steam profiles. We're not talking about Epic Game Store, which I think they need to figure out a way to get that added onto the Mortal Online map. But yeah, I think I see huge, great things for this game. It's just a matter of keeping it going.
Yeah, don't lose steam 6 months from now, and then those capitalize off of the fact that you have the influx of players, and use that revenue to pick up more steam, as opposed to hey, we release all this content, and then now we're going to get too ambitious and scope creep and try to add too much stuff that they can't do. They're moving in the right direction, and again, I'm fine with them taking 3 steps forward and 1 step back as opposed to what it was before.
Right.
I'd like to see it better, but at least we're getting more content right. There's
Right.
not 4 dungeons in the game controlled by 3 groups. There are a multitude of dungeons you can go to. They're working on more POIs and more stuff out in the open world. I kind of feel like they should have released some of these dungeons before, but at least we're getting them now.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Hey, actually breaking in real quick. Speaking of the new dungeon, I just got this. It's a picture of the vendor. You remember we're talking about the keys that you can form?
Yeah.
Actually looking at it right now, the vendor, you can apparently trade those in for the book.
Yeah, for the new armor set.
So, like we were talking about with the egg, with Ultimeki, do you think that these quote-unquote keys have another use besides trading in for the garments?
Well, and it is very possible. They could be a necromancy relic, right? It's so fresh that people probably haven't tried to put those on a ritual circle, right? It could be maybe they add a dungeon, the next dungeon, you take one of those keys and you go take it to a new dungeon, and hey, there's a door that kind of connects the dungeons together, because he did say there is a twist, right?
Right.
So it kind of might be something where you use these components, the new stones, the new keys, to kind of use them in future content, and that would be cool because it would make it to where you don't just run that single dungeon. You kind of take pieces of one dungeon, and then it allows you to kind of interact with the next piece of content.
Well, the next thing I want to ask is, we've only confirmed one boss in that dungeon thus far, right?
That we know of, yeah.
Right. So my thoughts are, maybe these keys unlock 3 different doors, right, to 3 additional bosses. because it is a large dungeon, and I mean it's a fucking maze, right? There's so many invisible walls that you can go through, and you can get lost really quickly. So my thoughts are there additional bosses? When will we see the additional bosses? Who's probably the closest to getting that? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I would love to see that there are more bosses in there. I think from what I've seen, Nightfall spent like 6 hours in there, and they were the first ones into the boss room. They're very solid force. So I mean, I feel like they might be the first people to discover a lot of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Especially since their main base of operations really isn't too far from where that's located. I know it's a little bit of a travel, but
Right.
it's not like Kodo coming from Meduli all the way across the map, right? It's more of
Right.
like a 15-20 minute ride over. So,
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, I mean, I would love to see that. Hey, these keys, you can mix and match them to do different bosses or maybe variations of the bosses if you combine them in a certain way. Because he did say, there is some sort of twist to it. So, you
Right.
might just be scratching the surface of what that dungeon actually has to offer.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like the name Sylvanian or Sylvian Sanctum, right? And that
Yeah.
I think elves or some shit. You know what I'm saying? I think Vilas.
Well, and it could also be maybe there's a lot of lore hidden in there, and you use those to kind of discover the lore. Which, like, I'm real big on lore. I love the lore of Mortal. I love that it's not PG-13 lore like a lot of games have. If
Right.
you really dig into some of the lore, there are some pretty graphic and you know brutal stuff that has happened in Nave. Look at Tefra, for an instance. Two of the Titans were fighting, and one punched the other one in the moon, and part of the moon split off and landed in Golkor,
Right.
right? The Great Riser invasion. Golkor used to be Tindrum, the capital city, but it got taken over by the Riser invasion. The Mage Tower, those faces, they spit out lava, and that's written into the lore. I forget the name of the battle. There's a YouTube video that does a lot of the lore, or a YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
I can link it to you after we're done talking. You kind of look into it, and there's a lot of very cool stuff, but also, like I said, a lot of graphic. I guess you would say war crimes that has happened in the world of Nave.
Right. Right. No, I love lore, especially because I'm a huge thing. I got a huge thing for Baldur's Gate. I'm talking Baldur's Gate 1, 2, not just 3. Um, so even one of my things I've been wanting for this game is religion. I know that might sound weird to some people, but I want like a murder god, like Baal, god of murder, things like that. And I think that's what this game needs. And as for when you were mentioning GK basically being the old capital, right, for Tindrum, why isn't there necessarily much of a riser presence in the actual city?
So, they actually fought. I gotta find the video where they discuss this. They actually fought the Risers off and then sealed them behind the hot gates.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of allowed them to push them back and prevent them from taking back over. But yes, it would make sense that hey, that is a full Riser town because they invaded and it's so heavily, so many Risers in that area to kind of explore that area.
Yeah, there's so many riser POIs. You literally have a dungeon just to the south, and then you have another dungeon to the north west in Talis, right? So, um, it's kind of been a curiosity of mine as why that city isn't really as inhibited as it I feel it should be. Just general, like just an idea. Maybe there should be like neutral riser vendors. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that they have the opportunity once they add the invasion system to kind of play around with that because it will make sense, right? Once the risers start pushing out from that gate
Right.
and taking over the area, that they would add vendors and especially with the clay to be able to interact and have a positive standing with risers if
Right.
you're a user. So that would make sense, but again, I think that they need a little bit more development time, right, before they kind of implement something like that.
Do you think we'll see other races besides Thursar be able to have a chance at befriending the Riser Nation?
Um, I believe it was possible in the first game. I only have a couple hundred hours in the first game, so I'm not an expert, but I also have been playing with people who played the first game very heavily, I believe you were able to kill some of the elite guards, take their heads, and turn them into the risers, which would decrease your standing with the humans, Tendermean, and all that. But you would gain standing with the risers. So I believe it will be possible, but it'll be a lot harder to achieve something like that than rolling a third star and having that clade and being able to walk in and say, "Hey, what's up?"
Right, right. And I know probably everyone's rep at this point is probably shot the shit because of Rise Your GK, right? And then doing Rise Your hunting tasks for the soldier taskmaster, and just generally getting like the warden title, or is it the vanquisher?
I don't know what it is, but I know Realm Warden, yeah, and that's I don't know what the other one was, but I mean that would add though what you're saying to add another layer of gameplay even with the task system, right? If you can go into Rizar territory and get a task to go kill 3 elite Tendremic guards, right?
Right.
Extra layer of gameplay and kind of just make it a little bit more interesting, right? More stuff to do. You never have too much stuff to do as long as it's relevant stuff to do.
Right. No, I think that'll be pretty badass, especially because I could picture some guilds like that. Like, I don't know, I want to just put it out there, like maybe Omerta, Omega, and Tango, right? Or slash Demonic. And I can imagine those 3 guilds just doing exactly that, right? Befriending the Razor nations, killing Tindremic NPCs and players, right? And living in like the Razor province. I could see that. I think that would be a really cool twist.
When Henrik also discussed like the faction system. I know it's been a while since he brought it up, but right, you'll be able to ally with the Kurz and then the Tindremic Empire, and then eventually more. Right, it would be cool to ally with the Riser Horde and then going around slaughtering people to get glory.
Oh yeah, that'd be so fucking cool. I think that's not going to happen anytime soon. I think.
No, unfortunately not.
Yeah, I think we're ways away. Yeah.
Hope.
Oh yeah, we can definitely hope. And I mean, the talks at Saraduka have been there. I know Rob Mill keeps memeing about Saraduka being a U.S. server, but then I had a conversation with Demoman and Henrik on the podcast 2 weeks ago, and we were discussing the U.S.-based servers, options for that, and Henrik actually did say and confirm himself that Saraduka at this moment was going to be a U.S. server. So that would mean that we're transitioning from EU server in the Ireland continent to the U.S. server in Saraduka.
So there's pros and cons to that. Anybody who played the first game knows that Sarduka is a PvE like heaven. There's a lot more ways to make money. There's unique bosses that are only in that region. There's another source of Tephra in that region, even though it's harder to obtain that Tephra with the heat mechanics. It would be cool, but at the same time, would all the North American players be in Sarduka and all the EU players be in Maryland? Or
Right. But that's a give and take situation, you know what I mean? So, like, American players are still going to want to travel to Maryland, right, to get certain things that aren't reachable in Saraduka, right? Because obviously you're going to have a lot of the weapon crafting books still in the GK Riser area, right? You're going to have a lot of those things that you can't find in Saraduka, right? But then there's going to obviously be unique things in Saraduka that won't be found in Maryland. So I think it's a give and take situation. And it doesn't matter about the ping situation because players from both countries are still going to traverse between both continents regardless to meet those goals. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I mean, hey, don't get me wrong, like, I play a footy, right? I would love to be on the same ping level as some of these other players, right? You see some of these top tier players. Imagine if the roles were reversed on someone like Razor, who goes into Sarduka, and now he's kind of the scales kind of tip the other way a little bit for someone who may not be as good as him, but because they have the ping advantage, they might be able to best him in a fight.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I do agree that ping is definitely a factor in PvP on any game. Doesn't matter the genre, right? I think we see it the most when it comes to FPS shooters, because that split second can determine a bullet to the head or not, right? a ghost effect.
Yeah.
And so I do understand where players are coming from, but as I was dueling Slasher today, we were dueling for like a long time too, probably about an hour straight, just in front of one of our houses in GK. Um, it, I don't know. I think he's an insane player when it comes to the actual PvP aspect. But I was parrying and hitting him. Not every single time. He was parrying me most of the time. But I was parrying like a shit ton of his hits, right? So it made me kind of think about it. Doesn't that just make you a better player if you can outplay someone from the UK?
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. There's a lot of players who kind of cope on the ping, kind of like turn it into a meme type thing, where it
Right.
does make a difference. But yes, once you kind of have the mechanical knowledge of how the game plays, some of the games 1v1, but the game shines in those like 40 versus 40, 50 versus
Oh
50.
yeah, you're freezing the fucking shit and you're just dying.
Well,
Yeah.
when you're not freezing and you know how to position yourself against EU players, they may have the advantage in ping, but if you can cooperate with your team properly, position and use the proper tactics, you can beat people with better ping, especially having knowledge of the game. A lot of people don't know that there are a lot of mechanics, such as like haste in the game. That you can use to beat other players, right? A lot of players think this is hack and slash spam left click, right? As opposed to there's a lot more involved in the game that can help you win against those players that have that ping advantage if you know how to utilize those mechanics.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Like I know in FPS shooters, if you have high ping, you want to W key the fuck out of everybody, and you just want to basically see them first before they see you because of the ghost effect, right?
Yeah,
Um,
and by all means, I'm not the best fighter, but I'm counting my stick and throw. I'm counting the seconds between my life steal. I'm using adamant properly whenever I encounter a mage. If I get fulminated, I use voice commands for my buffs. So, I just have to say shield and my adamant pops, and then say shield again and my adamant's off, right?
right.
Um, so, like, knowing how to use those mechanics properly will help you a lot more than having a little bit better ping. And there's apps, like I use Exit Lag, kind of helps me a little bit in those fights, but skill does play a lot into it. And like you said, if you can get used to having that handicap, um, imagine if you get on an NA server, how savage you'll be in a PvP fight.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Oh yeah, I saw just playing your video by the way. I love this video. You were fighting Kodo near Meduli.
Yeah. I'm not the best player. I'm slightly above average. I know everybody thinks I walk around with acting like I'm some ego, whatever.
Well,
It's
okay.
like,
Speaking of that, real quick, I do have to ask one thing because I hear it all the fucking time when I hear your name. Where did the thing come from? There's a saying that everyone and their mom says. Uh, Black Lotus Alliance, 200 bangers in Ogmium. Where does that come from? I hear that all the time from everybody and their mom.
so we have Ogmium. Apparently, I go around flexing that I have Ogmium. I show up to fights in Ogmium. I use it sometimes. I don't use it all the time. I prefer tongue steel because it's cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
Using a 2,500 gold set, whatever. But there also is a lot of propaganda, some shit talk. It is what it is. But apparently, I go around telling people I have 200 players with Ogmium, even though we have Ogmium. I stream, people can see. I open my bank. I have stacks of gold. I have Ogmium. I have Chronite, whatever. Like I said, you're in companions. You guys back in the day used to run. Blast Furnace and Natty runs with us on a weekly basis. So we have those resources. But apparently that turns into just because I have Ogmium, I flex that I have Ogmium and show up to every fight in Ogmium or something. I don't know. A lot of it's just shit talking propaganda, honestly. So
Yeah, no, for sure. I do agree that the propaganda in this game is very strong. People will just take things at face value and not do any of their own research. I
Oh,
definitely.
I hear all sorts of outlandish shit about myself every time I get on the game. I hear that I scam my players and I do this and I do that, and it's like, dude, I just log in and play the game. I give away so much shit to people, and all I do is I hit rocks for 15 hours a day. I play 2 to 4 accounts a day. Like, multi-box on GeForce Now. But apparently I make my players farm for me, and I do X, Y, and Z and whatever. And it's just like, okay, where is this stuff coming from? Because you ask people that are in my guild, and they'll tell you, like, a lot of the shit's just not true.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, I know that there's a lot of accusations about other guilds, and it's just hearsay at the end of it. Like, when I actually try and do some legitimate research into a lot of these things that people say, it's just a bunch of bullshit and hearsay. Like, there's never, ever, conveniently enough, any actual video or photo proof of anything ever happening. You know what I'm saying? It's just
I mean,
hearsay.
I'm not a saint, right? I've been playing since beta, right? And
Okay.
all guild leaders have done morally questionable things in this game. I'm not going to act like I'm a saint and I've never done anything wrong, but I'll own the stuff that I've done. And some of the stuff that people say is just untrue.
Okay, so there's one thing okay, this one is the only thing that I personally have always been curious about. That's if it's true or not. The rest of it, I figure, like, okay, unless there's actually hard proof about it, I don't really give a shit. The one thing I did hear, and I've been, like, kind of interested just to know, you don't have to answer this question either. Did you wake up one day and just delete the Black Lotus Alliance Discord, and then, like, or did I ask you that? Did I ask you that already off stream?
We were discussing something and then it kind of just came up, but I didn't really give you a full answer. There were some proof of a couple people that were insiding that had information, so we kind of deleted it and kind of cleared out some of those people and reinvited the people that needed to be in there. So I mean, it wasn't personally against anybody, but there was also, OPSEC, right? You
Right.
kind of purge your server, and in order to, I mean, you guys play up in the north, right? When you're moving a stack of Chronite across the map, you don't want the wrong person to see that,
Yeah,
because then
yeah.
immediately 20 Cardimata show up right before you get to MK, and there goes 10, 15,000 gold that you worked the last week to make.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like, I don't know if you knew this, but, or you probably do, Companions has been inside like 3 times.
Yeah, Nezarus and a couple other people. Yeah, I've seen the videos and heard about it, and it's
Yeah.
a pretty shitty thing to do to people. But
And then I heard, dude, did you hear the craziest rumor? Someone started spreading a rumor that we were actually inciting other people.
well,
That's the
like I said,
craziest
man,
part.
I hear all sorts of different things, and it's like I like opinions. Like, I know we've had an alliance and we had a little bit of beef, and then we're kind of cool, but kind of whatever.
Yeah, just friendly PvP, exactly.
I heard all sorts of things about Hillary. Hillary's my boy. Like, even though we don't really chill like we used to, like, I love Hillary. He's such a great guy. He's one of the best shot callers in the game. But I've heard all sorts of outlandish shit about him. It's just a lot of people talk crap, and that's just how it is. It's propaganda, just, unfortunately, instead of being able to go fight someone straight up, you have to go inside them, and you have to go smear their name in order to get a W, I guess. I don't know. I don't do the espionage, and I talk shit. I talk shit to the people who talk shit to me, and then we beat them, make a video of it, and say, hey, perfect example is, we fought Odin Seed before, right? And we've gotten wins against Odin Seed, but you ask Azog, and Azog will be like, Danny's never beat us. He never has, never could, never will beat us. It's like, bro, I got videos of it happening, right?
Right.
So, it is what it is.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I mean, people will just talk all the shit they can, just the, ego, save face, look better. So I think the main reason for that, just looking better, is because there's actually a lot of people that are just so dumb, blinded, that they'll just blindly follow anything certain people say. Because I mean, let's just use Azog as an example, because he's a very good charismatic figure, right? I mean, he's the main shot caller for Odin Seed, right?
Yeah.
That guy could probably tell his guys that Danny just said he's going to come fuck my mother, right? Let's go zerg his ass and siege down his shit, right?
yeah, and you know what? People will be like, "All right, Danny did X, Y, and Z. Let's go get
Yeah,
him, boys."
like let's take it at
Um,
face value, right? Like because it's been said by our shot caller, who is very influencive against all of us. We follow him in battle. It's the same thing with Barados. He has a very large platform, right? Or Cathar, right? He's got a large platform too. He could probably say whatever he wants, and people will just take it at face value. I know Kuth says a lot of shit. I mean, yeah.
he's the main reason why I'm playing the game again is because he did a stream talking shit about me for 2.5 hours, and I was like, "Boys, hey, we're back. Let's go." And I'm not going to disclose how many people we have running around with us because I want people to think my guild's dead. But Henrik was smiling the day we came back to the game. We have a decent crew with us now.
That's dope. That's dope. Yeah, I mean, like, I had no problem with Coalition until I made a comment with Demo Man about Kodo, right? And I was basically just talking about I don't know if you remember, like, when Rands was trying to make an alliance to just take on Coalition. Do you remember that?
Yeah. He actually, that's part of the reason why I got it. Kuth talking shit about me because I was like, hey, he asked me to come help him fight, and then it just snowballed into a bunch of ego flexing.
Right. So I talked about that specific thing. I'm like, hey, it'd be very interesting to see a coalition get just like taken on by a group of other guilds, right? And like I see all these videos of coalition killing blues when they're apparently the keepers of the oath and have a ARPK area, right, where they don't attack blues. Yet there's video footage of them doing so and then talking mad shit to people. And one of the videos I actually showed on one of my podcasts was a video of Sea-Doo farmers in Meduli getting put in the Mercy and just pushed around, talked shit to the whole entire video, right, by coalition members. And it blows my mind that like they literally were putting like talking in one of the unofficial Mortal Discords like, oh, this guy thinks he knows politics. Like they got triggered as fuck, man. Like these Kodo guys.
A lot of it's rules for thee, but not for me, right?
Right.
But the way I look at it, like you said, a lot of people will blindly follow Cathara and Barados and a lot of these other bigger groups. Me personally, you don't like me, you don't like me. And if you don't like me because of something that someone said, or your friend doesn't like me because his friend doesn't like me because he heard a rumor and has no reason legitimately not like me, that's fine. I don't want your friendship if you're that easily persuaded by a couple words without getting to interact with me as a human being and seeing what I'm about. Again, I'm not the hero of the game, but I'm not the villain. Just talk to someone. Get your own facts, before you jump to a conclusion and you just say, oh, well, my guild leader said this person's bad, so he's bad.
Oh, yeah, 100%. 100%. I think it's fucking foolish. I think it's fucked up. I think people are small brains. Another thing I think people don't realize is they have options in this game, you know what I mean? I think that a lot of people just embrace the Zerg experience because that's all that they know and that's the only way they can win. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you're right. And part of the reason why the ego and shit talking happens is because maybe some of these other groups are afraid that players will realize the other options. Again, I get told that I make my players hit rocks, but we've ran, besides the recent couple updates, we've ran every boss. We've done Ultimeki, we've done Blast Furnace, and GK runs in the Riser Dungeon, Talus. We've done Vessel multiple times, and I have all the videos of us running almost every boss multiple times. Bosses that a lot of players don't experience Ultimeki because they sit in Meduli and hit rocks all day, right? But then you don't realize that some of these groups are out there experiencing the game in a way that some players won't, because you hear that they're bad, don't interact with them. If you see them, kill them, don't talk to them. But then those players don't realize, hey, maybe if I talk to this person and realize he's a cool person, he can take me to go farm this drop that I need, and I can actually experience the game in a better capacity than I'm doing it now.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Have you ever thought about actually doing that? Like, posting your content more on YouTube?
Well, I do. I've been kind of, because I took a break, haven't been making a lot of videos, but at one point I was doing a minimal of 1 and up to 3 videos a month. And you watch through some of it, And you'll see that we've done Minnow, we've done Satyrs, we've done Ultimeki, we've done all these bosses. I used to stream us doing Riser Dungeon every day, and you know what? We would go and fight against Nightfall, and you know what? We died 9 times out of 10, but we were at least here and there. We would get the chieftain kill, get books out, and experience that dungeon in a way that, again, a lot of players are too afraid to even travel across the map and go in there because they hear that the moment they show up, they're going to die, or they don't have the mental fortitude to take 5 L's before they get one.
Yeah.
One,
100%. I know, for example, a guild that I recently talked to, no names, so I'm not going to say you guys, you know who you are. In my personal opinion, I think they're fucking pussies. They were like, oh, well, if we go, we're just going to get zerged down by Odin Seed Coalition, and yada, yada, yada. Well, so is that your excuse for just not, just staying out and hitting your little bandit camps all day? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Don't be afraid of anybody. It's a video game at the end of the day, but don't be afraid because you'll never progress. You're going to limit yourself, and you're not going to experience the game. Yeah, like I said, you might die 9 times out of 10, but at least that one time you get away, you might get away with 20,000 gold, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yep. Is literally go out there, just fucking enjoy the game, man. At the end of the day, it's all pixels.
Well, and part of it too, Loris will tell you firsthand. He even said on his stream before, he respects us because we have some of the best mental in the game because we would get wiped by Nightfall, and instead of saying, all right, guys, we're getting off, right? And there would be people talking shit in my Twitch chat. Oh, you guys just lost to Nightfall. We would say, all right, let's get back up. Let's go back down there. Let's try a different strat. Let's try to get the, hey, we killed Razor in this fight. We might got Mojave to half, but they wiped us. All right, let's re-kit, go back down there, try again, try a different strat, right? And that kind of helped us improve as players because we were fighting the best.
Yeah.
We were trying different strategies. We weren't saying, all right, well, Razor just killed us. Someone called us shit in Twitch chat, so we're getting off.
Yeah, some people are just fucking keyboard warriors till the end. Man.
Right. You're sitting in Favernum ganking players in the graveyard, calling me shit because I'm fighting Loris and I died.
Okay, I'm just gonna be super controversial right now, and I'll never have him on my my podcast just because of the type of guy he is. Tatsu, right? Tatsu is just so egotistical in my opinion, and all he does is kill literally noobs, right? And then when he dies to someone better than him, he complains ping. He screams ping. And I saw his ping today actually. He has 300 or 250 MS. I get 280 MS where I live. So, and I've beaten him before in a duel. Actually, in the graveyard. When near the first couple months I started this game, I beat him in the graveyard 1v1. So, I just think man, some people just need to chill the fuck out. Need to just humble themselves, enjoy the fucking game, and not get all up in their feelings.
Well, yeah, I mean, I yesterday I was streaming and I was killing people that were ganking brand new players because I don't want new players to quit the game and be back at 700 pop again. I played when we had 500 people logging on every night and it wasn't fun. It was fun to farm, but it wasn't fun to play the game. But yeah, I mean, that is a good example where that him in particular, you'll see a lot of his videos where he 1v8s, but it's like, all right, you're 1v8ing people in the graveyard. You go watch my videos and we're in the dungeons, right, fighting some people. We're in GK fighting people. We do have Tungsteel, Chronite, Ogmium. When I had a castle, I never went in the sewers. I went in the sewers like twice, right? I never go to the graveyards to kill people. We would go and we would try to contest Cardimata. We might get wiped, but we would pick that fight with those bigger crews. We always punched up, not down. As opposed to, some players, they're content with being a pro PvP player, but all they're doing is killing someone with 100 hours after you have 5,000.
And then not cupping the people that are better than them so they don't get murked.
Yeah.
I said it. But yeah, I mean, I think that, I would like to see actually something interesting like the, what was it? Do you remember back when everyone was still in Fabrinum and shit and there was the militias?
Yeah.
I would like to see that kind of come back for the newer players. It wouldn't necessarily mean make a new guild, right? But just a general open Discord for like people just to come and like protect people. They're getting like the new players.
Yeah, I
Like
mean, I would love to see that. Barados used to be that figure. Barados was like the light in the darkness for Mortal for quite a long time. But then
right.
I like Barados. I respect him. He has a solid guild. I'm not going to talk trash on him or his guild. I will friendly PvP against them. They might beat me. They probably will beat me. You know, it is what it is. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I also feel like, you know, he did the ACT thing and got his little 5 minutes of fame, and now that he has that following, he kind of just reversed that, right? Instead of being the protector of Avernum, now him and Kodor are seeking 10-man guilds. Like,
Well, I mean,
sorry, it is what it is.
I don't think entirely that's on Barados.
It's not, but like, again, he used to be the king of Avernum. You go, someone's killing someone in the graveyard. Barados ran out there with 10 guys. It didn't matter if they were going to die or not. The whole public image didn't matter. He was just out there doing the right thing, trying to fight for the people out there.
Right, right. And I mean, he has his own guild. He's got 3 fucking strongholds or keeps, sorry, to take care of now. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot more. You know how we were talking about like you can't take things at face value. I think that he would like to probably continue doing something like that because I think Barados is a very entertaining guy. And you're talking to someone whose village literally got sieged by him. You know what I'm saying? Um, I have no hard feelings towards Odin Seed. I think they're all pretty decent. They got some good bangers in that guild. You know, I think it's friendly PvP. That's all it is. And I mean, it was just generally good content, right? But then Coalition, we're talking about people that are literally doing the opposite of what they stand for. And I don't think they're really enhancing the game. They're literally just a band of guilds who claim they stand for something and then pick on the smaller groups. I think when you said that they're sieging the 10-man guilds, they're focusing more on the 10-man guilds than Odin Seed would be focusing on 10-man guilds.
I mean, it's the mentality of you bend the knee or else I'm going to step on you type thing, right? Honestly, I know, like I said, we used to be in an alliance with Companions, and then we kind of stopped and kind of had that falling off. And when I opened up that stream and I saw 200 players destroying your village, and I said, man, they got 15 people there. I messaged Hillary. I said, do you need my help? And he said, no, bro, don't even worry about it. There's nothing we can do here. And I was willing to take the dozen guys I had on, even though we weren't on the best terms, to go try to fight. But it's just like, what are you going to do? 24 versus 200, you know?
Right.
And it's sad. It's like you talk all this shit about being big and bad, but then you need 200 people to fight 15. Like, what is that?
I think it was more of a means to the end for them. I think they, because you know how the alliance that we were part of was focusing on like Blackhand.
Yeah.
I think that was kind of like the same situation. I know Coalition focused on Black Widows, Odin Seed focused on us, and then our alliance was focusing on Blackhand, right? So I think that's what it was. It's more of like a repercussion, more of a means to an end to try and eliminate some of the bangers. Because I know Companions definitely had small numbers, but they're bangers. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, you guys got Womp in there, and you guys got some pretty solid fighters. You guys actually got a couple of my old people who, when we took a break, went over to you, and Herp's a pretty solid fighter, right?
Oh yeah.
Dojo, they're pretty good. I like Wayne. Wayne's a little goofy. We have a saying called hanging off. You'll be fighting someone, and Wayne says, "I need help," and he's 10,000 meters. He's a good guy, but he's also a solid fighter when he's with the group, right? So I know I played with you guys. You guys have Hillary, who is hands down one of the best shot callers in the game. Like, you guys have solid people. It doesn't matter that you don't have the 200 people to throw at them. You guys have some very, very solid players.
Right. Yeah. But hey, at the end of it all, it's just a matter of seeing what happens going forward, and not only hope that things change politically in this game, but hopefully
me too, man. I'm all down for PvP. I had some Odin Seed kid talking shit to me, saying that, oh, I'm going to talk shit, and the moment you respond, we're going to come blow up all your stuff. We're going to get everybody together and blow up your stuff in the Mortal Discord. And it's like, cool, bro. I have so much gold, you can blow up a stronghold, and I'll make another one. You can blow that up, and I'll make another one. It doesn't matter to me. But, like, that mindset of, I can be a bully, and you can't say anything to me because I'm going to throw 200 players at you, is a very bad mentality. Barados himself said, having me in the game is healthy for the game because that's another group of people playing the game, keeping players entertained, right? Having that mindset of I'm going to make you quit the game is not good for anybody, right?
Yeah.
Because less players, less PvP, less anything. You're going to rule over the ashes after you get everybody to quit, and then you're going to be bored because there's nothing to do.
Yeah, no, 100%. 100%. I think that a lot of the people that talk shit about each other, right? At the end of the day, it's content that this game needs. There has to be villains. There has to be people that they see as enemies, right? Even if they do things that necessarily they dislike and wish wasn't in the game, at the end of the day, if they weren't there, who would the guild be focusing on? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is the focus of the guild at that point? Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I have 10,000 hours in the game. I played during the dark ages when we had 400 or 500 people logging on every night, and it was not fun. Again, you can go farm Tefra uncontested, you can go hit Risers uncontested, but what's the point of it if there's 400 players on every night, right?
Right.
And then half of them are in Meduli and the other halves are who knows what.
Yep, no, 100%. Well, shit, man. It's been good talking to you, bro. I think we're going to call it right there. I do want to see you in another podcast with Demo Man. Would you be interested?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine to talk with whoever about whatever. I'm an open book. Again, a lot of the stuff people hear about me is a lot of propaganda, and a lot of people don't actually interact with me and like see that I'm just some dude on the internet.
I think that's something that we should do. We should need to work on. I think there's a lot of reputations out there that aren't fully understood,